And welcome to Rauta's Indie 5. This time we have once again 5 different releases and going through in alphabetical order despite the genre and quality. First we'll head to Poland with a band called Aquilla, and this is Mankind's Odyssey, their debut album. This band was founded roughly in 2015 and the style is heavy metal. One could even say and go as far as to comment that this is the kind of a heavy metal band that stays on the fence between power metal and heavy metal, meaning that sometimes these vocals can go really high up and high, and I don't even dare to do a comic part of that, especially when my voice is a little bit down thanks to being at Inferno Festival. But I can assure you these guys do their heavy metal in melodic and one could say in a kind of a happy ways. And those vocals, they really climb up high and go in such notes that it feels like we're almost in opera parts. No, I'm kidding here obviously a little bit. But yeah, this is combining heavy metal and power metal parts together. And it's kind of happy mood heavy metal. Not afraid of, pushing aside a little bit of darkness. And enjoying those melodies. Now, this is quite energetic album, and in so many ways that's one of the reasons why this sounds so positive. That is kind of happy. So in case there are bands that are really more into the kind of a darker side of heavy metal, this is a kind of an opposite. Now that doesn't mean that these are one of those power metallic bands with singing about heavy metal families and all that stuff, but there's kind of this even sunny feeling with the music. Now I mostly actually quite like it, but sometimes the vocals can be a little bit too overwhelming and kind of hard to swallow, at least for me anyway. The production is pretty solid and there is no actual amount of mistakes on this album, so this is very much a decent thing to do. But like I said, those vocals can be a little bit of a breaking point for some people, or dividing factor, whatever you want to call it. Overall, this is a rather decent debut album, but still a lot of work to do in order to make the actual hit songs, the ones that basically define bands as Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, and the like. But if you like heavy metal and you don't mind it melodic, that's a good start. Then we'll go with more Polish metal, but this one is black metal, obviously, Ohyda, and I don't know how to pronounce this actual album name, Ohyda Spustoszenia, or something like that. This is 23 minutes of rawish black metal, and also the first release by this given band. One could say this is the kind of a combination of Burzum's mid-tempo parts and those 1919 reminiscent riffs with kind of a Panzerfaust era type of raw black metal vocals. So very raw, barbaric, and nasty sounding, not for everybody, but I must say I really like them. Maybe because they are so goddamn raw and I'm a fan of those Panzerfaust vocals. Some parts here and there remind me of Burzum, not only because of the rather mid-tempo, but because there are almost like copycat parts. Like there's, for example, this one riff that totally sounds like some of those keyboard parts with Burzum used, but now just with guitar. Maybe it's purely intentional, maybe it's just coincidence, don't know, don't really care. What matters is that this is rather a nice MCD to start with Ohyda's career. Now, this is of side project nature. When you take a look at this band's Metal Archive site, you will note that all of these members have older projects out there, older bands. So I don't know how much focus this will be getting into the future, but whatever it is, this MCD is definitely worth taking a look. It's pretty nice and raw or black metal coming from Poland. New school, but still kind of a 1990s ways. This third one here on Indie 5 is a Colombian one-man project called Ramera, and the album here as the debut one is Anarquía y destrucción, which you can pretty much figure out. It's anarchy and destruction indeed. Now, this is an interesting case because it's kind of a crossover thrash metal. And here the crossover means leaning towards hardcore. Very, very violent, very aggressive, and throughout these 30 minutes you will have a lot of intense riffing and powerful vocals, and in general, good intensity. Now, this is a very, very positive surprise to me, because obviously as a new band, there is like no expectations, but here, Ratman doing all the music and lyrics for this one-man band, so to say, he has done a pretty solid job. Now, one can't even avoid kind of getting old Metallica and old Slayer feeling when listening to this one, because obviously those bands grew on punk and metal, and this is exactly how it shines through. The production is solid, the music is just aggressive the right way, and I like those vocals. I mean, everything is pretty cool here. Now, if there was one disappointment which I kind of had to address, it is that these songs could be even more memorable and kind of catchier. I mean, if you think it sounds like a little weird, I mean, I have to kind of justify this so many times, but the thing here is, everybody knows that there's a reason why those old thrash metal bands got famous. I mean, whether it's about Angel of Death or whether it's about songs like For Whom the Bell Tolls or anything like that, a certain kind of a catchiness is present there, and that is the side where Ramera could be even more, well, powerful. And then we go to more international waters, because this is actually a German-Polish band, which is here with their also a debut album, 4 songs, roughly 36 minutes, and this one is, how to say it, Stodor Wilzorum with the Trauermystik album. 2-man band, and this totally looks like a side project, because these guys, both of these, that is, have a lot of other bands, and one cannot exactly imagine that this would be their main one, considering that this is a newer one and having only one album out, whereas those others, well, they have existed quite some time. This one is something that could be described easily as melodic black metal. Tempo is fast, titles are lengthy, that is roughly the first 3 songs are on average more than 10 minutes each, with the end track being only 3 minutes. That is one of the harder parts to get into this one, because, well, when you know that songs are like 12 minutes, it's not exactly the most easy to figure out kind of our rock and roll patterns with kind of extreme metal. Now, the melodies are mostly quite good, but there are parts where it seems like it's an ongoing filler part. And of course, because the, well, songs are that lengthy, it's kind of hard to just get into the patterns of the album, to get into those melodies and all that stuff. But overall, this is pretty decent, but in my opinion, quite easy to just forget the whole patterns here, the individual melodies and all that stuff. So this is more about being an album full of good atmospheric parts. There are slower parts as well, but way too often it just kind of goes very, very typical fast blasting. Not super fast, mind you, this is no Marduk or Dark Funeral or anything like that, but still the fast tempo, energetic black metal. And because of that, it seems like one trick pony at first, but once you kind of give it more time, you will figure out their slower parts, their keyboards and all that stuff to build, once again, this atmosphere. The vocals are pretty good. They're kind of high-pitchy, screamy parts, and even the kind of howling, which reminds me vaguely a little bit of the debut album of Helheim. So if you know the vocals on that one, you pretty much know what to expect. But like I said, the atmosphere here saves a lot. So it is definitely a decent album, very much on the positive sides rather than pure mediocrity. But even that being said, this could be a lot better if the songs were more compact in a way, and also if there was more maybe diversity or even just catchier, more memorable parts. Now, I don't expect this kind of music to be exactly catchy, but once again, we have to kind of understand what I'm talking about here, and that means everybody knows the songs which are most easy to remember. So it doesn't really have something to do with the lengthiness of a song or genre to begin with. Cool riffs which just drill into your brain are the things that makes us remember certain songs. Now for the last album. The last but definitely not least comes from Finland. This is a band called Vaino with the debut album Metsänpeitto. Now, roughly, literally translated, Metsänpeitto would mean the forest blanket, so it's more like a metaphorical. But Vaino means something like persecution, so kind of fitting name for a black metal band, but I don't know how it fits really this kind of archaic Finnish style, which is very melodic here. So it's kind of a combination of nature and history and all that stuff. All the songs are in Finnish, and the album runs for about 32 minutes, give or take. And this is a kind of a side project like of a band, meaning this duo here in the band have other bands or have had other bands which are more or less active, so hard to figure out this would be the main band of either of these two guys. No lyrics included, so it's just very Finnish and very simple, just back to basics kind of thing. This is so melodic and so Finnish kind of a melodic black metal that it's kind of a hard to figure out like this would be from somewhere else. Except that it actually reminds me of Norwegian band Winder, just with a little bit of, how to say, more Finnish touch. Like as if it was a Finnish version of Winder. Very close to nature, very melodic, kind of a catchy. Now, some of those are so sugar-coated that it almost makes my teeth fall out in my mouth, because I can't really take super melodic parts, especially when it's more like kind of happy tunes. But the more the grim this album goes, and there are those grim and melodic parts, then it goes way better direction. Overall, a pretty good album with rather nice, raspy, evil vocals, as well as pretty cool production. Overall, pretty good of an album, but still some work to be done in order to really nail it and make it, big impact. But definitely very promising act all in all, so I would say give this one a chance. Now, if I had to pick the winner of this this pile of Indie 5 here, Indie 5, well, why not? This would be this Ramera with Anarquía y destrucción, because this is, in my opinion, the best of this pile. But there are plenty of good albums on this particular Indie 5 episodes, so give it a chance and you will find those links provided in the description box. Click and listen, that's all I got to say. Now, go listen to this music and come back with more comments and let me know how you like them. This is Rauta, take care, and more Indie 5 ones coming your way.